The year is 1993. The place is a town called Waco, Texas. Their leader is a man who calls himself the Messiah. They abuse their children, and the leader has wives who are only 13. On April 19th, the federal government helps burn their compound to the ground. Or at least, that's what the media tells you. The Waco siege was a controversial and confusing 51-day struggle between the federal government and a fringe religious group. Today I aim to explain the reasons it occurred, the events that made up the siege, and the crippling effects it had on our nation. Beginning with the most confusing part of this story, who those people were. And answering this question is particularly difficult because our perception of this group has become so warped over time. They've been deemed a cult and something to be afraid of, but those are very strong accusations. They were called the Branch Davidians, and they were a religious group of about 130 people living in a large compound called Mount Carmel in Waco, Texas. Their leader was a man named David Koresh. The Branch Davidians were in very broad terms Christian. According to author and historian Dick Revis, the Branch Davidians believed that the second coming of Jesus Christ was on the horizon, and if they could defend their faith until the end, they would survive and go to heaven. The biggest controversy was the belief that David Koresh was a prophet. In the eyes of the Branch Davidians, this meant that he was allowed to have children with girls who were 13 years old. This was alarming for many obvious reasons. However, it was a fact that came out only after the siege had already begun. And that begs the question, why did the siege begin at all? Well, according to Waco, the inside story from PBS's Frontline, the local Bureau of Alcohol, Tobacco, and Firearms, also known as the ATF, had a warrant issued to investigate the compound for weapons violations. The Branch Davidians had been observed stockpiling and modifying weapons to make them more dangerous. On February 28, 1993, the ATF planned to raid and seize those weapons. According to a retro report by the New York Times in 2015, the ATF wanted to use an element of surprise in their attack. But when reporters started gathering around outside of the compound 30 minutes before the raid was supposed to begin, the Branch Davidians found out that something was about to happen, and as a result they got prepared, and when the authorities arrived, a shootout ensued between them and the Davidians. This led to the deaths of 4 ATF agents and 6 Davidians.